Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. We have done a special episode like this before, where I don't tell my guests what we're doing, and then we make up a story without any prompting.
Oh.
So my guest today is Ian.
Hi.
Who is my expert on artificial intelligence.
Here we go.
Right? You didn't even know you were an expert on that, but you're going to be for this. And Justin, my longtime suffering co-host and co-author on many projects that you have seen and may see in the future. I want to make up a story about the machines running the world. But how are we going to do it in a way that hasn't been done before? So let's first eliminate the tropes, all right? They don't come to destroy us, at least not overtly, right? They are not inherently better than us, right? They can be as complex, but they're not better just because they're more advanced. And what are some of the other tropes there? That humans deserve it. Those are off the table,
Okay.
all right? It's not our fault, right? We don't need to be destroyed in this particular context. And we're going to make up a story. We're going to story break an idea for the rise of artificial intelligence in a new way that we haven't heard before.
So this isn't artificial intelligence coming to Earth, it's the invention of...
Great question. What do you think, Ian? Should it be arriving from far away, or should it be already here on Earth?
I always like the stories where it's like an alien civilization discovers Earth and they're so perplexed by it.
Right.
It's like they're made of meat and they breathe air. And how do they communicate?
So
they
peculiar.
make this gurgling noise with their meat and the other ones understand it. It's like, what do you mean? How long do they last? Only
Okay.
100 years.
So you're for the intelligence being present here,
I mean, either...
right? And you we'll find a mix in here. It makes me think of this Carl Sagan.
I love that pitch.
Yeah.
They make
Yeah.
this gurgling sound with the meat.
That the other meat things understand. There's this Carl Sagan thing, I think it's from Pale Blue Dot, where he's talking about if an alien was looking at the Earth, right? At what resolution could you finally realize that there was intelligent life, right? Like at a kilometer wide per pixel, you couldn't tell, right, how far you could get. And that at 10 or 20 meters diameter per pixel, you would start to realize that there are all these rectangular things that rule the Earth with these little parasites that come in and out, and there isn't enough room for all of them, and some of them sleep inside houses that seem to be built for them, and most of them sleep on the streets and the causeways, and that they seem to feed on these organisms that get into them, and then when they're tired they release whatever the organism, right? From an outside perspective, cars look like they rule the planet, right? So it's interesting what you say, right? So cars, right? If we're going to write a story about artificial intelligence?
I like the idea of complete misinterpretation of humanity and the Earth as a whole.
Okay, but if I connect it to your idea that it started here, what if it was a probe or some ship, right? Let's say that they made an exploration vessel that was going to move near to the speed of light, right? And on it, they couldn't put people on it because they weren't sure how to keep them alive. So they put an AI and it evolves on its journey and then comes back to Earth.
That's
so then,
Star Trek. They did that in Star
V'ger,
Trek.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, but in the first Star Trek motion picture, aliens find Voyager on the edge of the solar system. They're like, "Oh, you're lost. We'll bring you home." Right? Because you're not smart enough to find your way home. We're like a robot species.
Right.
We'll bring you home, and it causes horrible chaos. So some space between that. What I have to ask you though is, from the human's perspective, is the intelligent seen as benevolent or as malevolent?
I would imagine that the general human reaction to things that they don't know is to be afraid of it and to label it as bad.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how well-intended this artificial intelligence may be, if those interests, or if the interests or perhaps the means to attain those interests are not aligned with human perception, we're always going to think it's bad.
So if we go against trope, what's something we could introduce?
Here's an idea. Whatever form this ends up taking,
Right.
that humanity kind of freaks out about, usually the movie ends with humanity like trying to blow it up, right? Like nuke it, do whatever. I want that to happen like almost at the beginning, and like they've tried throwing everything they have at it, and it just like
Just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. And so then what happens after, when they've exhausted the like let's try to kill it option? When that's all done, then what?
Humanity's like the tide, and it splashes against the rock, and it's still there,
Yeah.
right? Now they have to deal with it. Yeah, that's how you start. So it's immediate res. So the story opens after humans have done everything to prevent the singularity from taking over. Now what does it do? If it can't be hurt by us, what's its interest? What would its interest be in people? Like when you're talking about like, oh, you're flapping your meat. That's weird. Right? What does that all mean?
Yeah.
Would it be so far beyond us the way we are perception of, okay, so our perception, if you look at an anthill, is that we're beyond the ants, but we're only now realizing that people actually don't really understand how the ants communicate completely. We thought we did, but we don't.
Not smell?
Well, they're not 100% sure. They did this weird test where some researchers literally color-coded every ant in a huge anthill.
Oh, God.
Took them like a year, but they put like a 3-strip code so that every ant had a unique sequence so they could keep track of where it moved in the anthill.
Some poor unpaid intern
Had to do this, literally capturing ants and painting them so they could keep track. And what they figured out was that if you take an ant from the top of the anthill, deep down in the anthill, with way less time than it would take for each ant to tell every other ant all the way down to the bottom of the anthill, the ants immediately replace the missing ant with a new worker. So as soon as you pull him out of the system goes, whoa, we're missing one. Yeah. And somebody switches jobs to fill in that gap.
The interesting thing, I think the most interesting thing about ants, termites, bees...
People.
No, hold on. Any kind of hive mind organism is that we are looking at it in the wrong way. We look at the ant as an individual because that's the way that we think.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the reality of what an anthill is. An ant, like the ant colony, is the organism.
Yeah.
Right? Each ant is just a piece in it. It would be like looking at a human being.
Each cell is its
and
own.
then each neuron.
Yeah.
You know, a neuron communicates a piece of information from one end to the other to the next neuron and then so forth.
Right.
But we don't look at a human like that. We look at the human as the individual. And so ants, bees, termites, you need to look at the actual hive as the individual. And all of those parts are just parts of it.
Damn it, Bones. I need you. Badly.
The trope is always like it is a single consciousness that you
Right.
talk to one-on-one.
Yeah.
And maybe that shouldn't be the case at all. Like there is no way to communicate with it. It's just...
Yeah, there's a tech revolution happening right now across the manufacturing industry called Internet of Things.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And effectively, that is a hive mind
Right.
type idea. You know, each individual machine is capable of its own processing, but they all contribute to one larger purpose. I think that we need to sort of establish the motivation of what this artificial intelligence would be. If it's alien and it was sent here, what was it sent here for? Is it just trying to observe? Is it intended to represent some faraway?
Good. Pick one.
Well, because this is what happens. Like after the wave crashes into the rock and the rock is still there. Well, what is it doing? Well, it's going to do whatever it was sent here to do in the first place. Like,
Yeah,
it
so
seems
what
like
if-
we don't have any.
What if that's the story? Is like, so what is it that it's sent here to do that people just have to deal with? Right? It's like the way we step on an anthill, right? And that boot just happens, and then the ants continue scurrying, doing their thing.
So is the planet Earth just an anthill? Are we some kind of a pet almost, like a just something to observe?
Something along that. What if it's like that boot print? What if the arriving consciousness is simply setting up the next step, the next chain in some big exploration?
It, yeah. Like observing is just that's not the goal, right?
Yeah.
So like they can observe, but what's that end goal?
Right. That's my question. So let's say, for the sake of argument, until we come up with something better, that this traveling artificial intelligence hive mind with millions of parts that arrives on Earth begins to build something. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there was life on Earth is incidental. right? That Earth just happened to be in the right place for this to be the step, the boot coming down, right? And it's going to be on its way somewhere else, whatever the next part is, that just as an ant doesn't really understand why the boot fell, neither do we get to understand.
Are we
why
going
they're
to
here.
are we going to assume that all life in the universe follows the same patterns that life as we know it does? So life as we know it is is obsessed with reproduction and
Right.
spreading itself.
Yeah.
So would we, if this is an alien species of some sort, are we under the assumption that it would behave by that same?
Whenever I'm up against these kinds of questions, like how alien to make the alien, I'm always reminded of the Frank Herbert, Bill Ransom conversation, which basically paraphrased like this. Aliens and robots don't read books. People read books.
Exactly.
So you must put in something
has to
that
be
someone can
relatable.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be the pivot away from what's probable, which is like if it's
Yeah.
really alien, we wouldn't understand it at all.
Right.
But if you created a context that what if the procreant urge is its only goal?
So if we place our own interests onto whatever alien species we're looking at here, what's the first thing we're going to do when we land on another planet?
Find food.
Colonize,
We're going
start
to
out.
terraform
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
We're going to make it like ours.
Yeah.
I've got like an idea. The Saint Famil, that huge church in Barcelona, that the guy who started it, like the original architect who started it, he knew when he started it, he was not going to be around to see it finished. It's still like 70 years off from being finished, this place or something. Like,
Have they been working on it?
They've been
consistently?
working on it for like over 100 years.
Well, Notre Dame took 200 years to complete also.
Yeah,
Right?
like it's
person
been
that came up with it-
generations of builders have been building this thing, right? And so a lot of them knew when they started, they're not going to see the end result. And same with, Notre Dame. Like, it took a very long time to build. The guys who started it probably weren't around when it finished. So the idea of this like artificial intelligence starting to build something that's going to take thousands of years to complete and is for a purpose that no human is going to be around to see.
Right. So
the
it's
end
just
result.
its immediate effects that they have to deal with. So what are those effects? The effects would be like, is it building a huge monolithic structure? It has to draw those resources from other places.
It's kind of like it's kind of tying to Arrival a bit, but some kind of like impeding cosmic disaster they build something to like protect the Earth from that's going to happen in a couple millennia.
Yeah, like
But-
what if, okay, so,
I like that idea.
Yeah, so do I.
If
So-
they're trying to preserve.
yeah, what if
Yeah.
their
life.
idea was, we know of this horrible thing that's coming, right? And we don't have to name it, and maybe nobody names it. They just, they assert that this terrible end to the Earth is coming, and they have to build this thing that will save it.
And
But
their
it-
perception of time is so different than ours.
Yeah. Living worlds must be preserved. They're rare. They're precious. The fact that there's this film of life on the Earth is actually, worth saving.
Yeah.
We're just not. We don't care.
From our perspective, we see this thing come in and start building. We immediately assume the worst.
Yeah, like it turns all of Australia into a building platform. Like clears it off and then starts building
Or
something
starts
on
draining
Australia.
one of the oceans kind of thing.
I have an idea. For the sake of our, because we need water so much, humans, what if they build their physical structures by converting water into it? Just something really alien and really weird, but it would have
It's like
great
a
visual.
perma-ice,
Yeah, kind of
permanent
like,
ice that will not melt or crack.
So they build the structures
Like,
out of water molecules for some
pykrete.
reason. Yeah.
Pykrete,
Yeah.
which is ice and straw and paper kind of all mixed into a slurry. And when you freeze it, it is like,
Stays frozen
100
for a
times stronger than just an ice block like that. Because of the straw and the fibers, it's like bulletproof and way more durable. And the Canadian military experimented with building like aircraft carriers with this. Like an
What?
iceberg aircraft carrier.
Wouldn't it have to stay frozen?
That was part of the problem. But like
okay.
between Canada, Russia, like
Right.
in those waters, you could have this big floating block of
All right,
pykrete.
so then for the sake of our story, we have an alien consciousness, right, which may or may not have originated on Earth, or maybe is contacted as a result of something that the Earthlings do.
What if it was created on Earth and then downloaded something from outside of Earth?
Oh.
Like it picked up a signal that we are not. I like that idea that there is lots of alien signals out there. We just are not at the
don't have
point
the
where we
frequencies.
can access them.
It's like they just turned the whole of the Earth into a radio telescope to see the black hole, right? to see the supermassive black hole. It's something like that. Like they picked up a signal. Okay, so a major construction effort occurs somewhere, and people are being displaced. But who are our characters? Who is the
That's
inside?
the problem. We've got
right?
a cool premise, but we don't have any story yet.
And a good science fiction story always has a nice premise, but you should be able to strip the premise away and still care about who the people are and what's going on, right? It's why, whether you like Star Trek or not, why it endures is that without the ship and without the replicators and without everything else, it's still this human drama that you could say, I relate to that.
So it's a matter of global security. So you're going to have to bring together a team of the, brightest people in the world from the global community. Of course, you're going to have your archetypal military
But I think he's
influence.
deflated right off the get-go because we start with them
didn't
like
work.
trying to nuke and blow it up, and maybe didn't do a thing.
And maybe the more like liberal-minded scientists will just like get their jabs in throughout the.
Well, we tried that.
Yeah,
we
remember you
tried
tried
that
that? Yeah.
and how'd that work out?
Because that's I
hey,
like
why
the
don't we
idea
try blowing it
that
up?
that's all done. They've tried everything. They've just it's the military is no longer something that.
See, and I immediately
Mission.
see this story now because the setup is so global as needing to have multi points of view. So you need like a family that is just like a regular workaday family that now lives in a world where this enormous space-sized moon-sized monolith is being built as a cyst on Australia, right?
So maybe to try to round up our cast of characters, why don't we sort of approach it from a sort of more tried and true approach? If you were going to send a spacecraft out into space and you need to fit 10 people on there who are going to be the representatives of Earth for
Right,
whatever
yeah,
alien.
who would it be?
Yeah, who would it be?
I've got a cool superstructure idea.
Okay.
Maybe the disaster is the moon is floating away, and so they build a tether to the moon on a track that rotates around the Earth.
Oh, wild.
Oh, it's like flat Earth.
But what I like about it is it's so crazy. But it's the kind of way a human almost would try to solve that problem.
It's like because then we can have like space elevator and the floating ring around the Earth, which is a totally doable thing. We just haven't done it. But having a
geocentric orbit on the moon.
ring around the Earth is something that we could build in this day and age.
Okay, so there's a lot of speculation in the scientific community that the presence of the moon, which then creates the tides, was a catalyst for the development of life on Earth, right? That you need water, and you need that water to be sloshing onto land and then leaving it in order for the microorganism in the water to need to evolve on land, right? So I like the notion, the long-term notion that if the moon was going to be gone, but you wanted Earth to still have this incubating function, you'd need to build something else, right? Maybe that's all they're doing. Maybe the whole thing starts with like the moon is destroyed and the world is in chaos and everyone assumes that the alien arrival destroyed the moon. But the alien arrival has arrived in the macro organism of the Earth's greatest need, right? And what it's going to build is build another moon essentially that could rotate, right? But out of the material of the Earth itself. Wouldn't it be easier though to just drag an asteroid over?
Yeah.
I would say that was a logical assumption, Captain.
Let's go back to the people.
Okay.
We need to focus on our cast.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the idea of a Carl Sagan type character. Someone who has a fundamental understanding of scientific achievement and sort of a big picture thing, but is also very communicable, very personable. I guess a Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of fits that bill these days.
Yeah, and let's also have then as a counterpoint a person who is like a mystic, like they believe in the complete opposite of science, right? Like they are, they believe in the ancient aliens. They would believe in, Carillion auras. They would believe in all this kind of stuff. And you have both of them be right. I think that would be the kind of story.
So we're talking like Alex Jones, versus Neil deGrasse
Maybe.
Tyson.
Yeah. Right? But I think a perspective, right? Like you have, rather than just the scientist's perspective, you need a poet's perspective also. And you have that be right, because they're representing the human condition, not just science, but like the way in which people have to now deal with this thing that's so much bigger than them.
You know, I think that...
You need a kid in there.
Sure. I think that philosophy is at the leading edge of almost any kind of technological advancement. You know, it starts with ideas. These are concept creators, you know, and so...
Just had an idea based on what you just said. I just had an idea, and it connects to what you said, Justin, earlier, that it's just like people flapping their meat and making noises, right? What if the alien consciousness has collected 10 or 15 people that it believes will help it understand? Like it arrives on Earth, it's doing its work, and then it changes its sort of scan, and it's like, oh wait, this little scurrying things, they're actually really intelligent.
Yeah.
Maybe we should figure out what
so
they
like
need.
if you had an ant farm in your bedroom, or you know, wherever you keep an ant farm,
under my pillow,
but you needed to clean the tank.
Yeah.
You know, how would you communicate to the ants that, hey, everything's going to be okay?
We're not destroying your home.
Yeah, I'm not trying to destroy your home. I'm trying to do something for the better. How would you communicate that to the ants? Well, the aliens presumably
you'd capture them all and paint them multicolored, which is what
they'd be in a similar situation.
Yeah.
We value the life, this simple intelligence that exists here. We value that, and we want to do something to preserve it. But how do we communicate that to them?
And would the alien distinguish human life as being more important than, say, the whales or the dolphins or the other arachnids? Like, if they saw these organisms all working, would they be doing the same thing with like 10 whales and 10 humans and 10 birds? Like, what if it's a reverse Noah's Ark where it's like it's capturing a little of everyone and trying to get their perspective on what the needs of the planet really are before it decides what to do with it?
I like the idea of a scene where it's like we're in like some kind of spaceship or something, and there's a bunch of bubbles, and like there's humans in one, whales in another, there's deer over here, there's chimpanzees, and this consciousness, this robotic thing is going around talking to everybody one by one, and like and the humans are just like, no, over here.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we're important, and the whales are singing away.
The dolphin said you're not that important.
Yeah. The whales have assured us that they used to have a planet-wide communication system with sound that you ruined with noisy boats.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like a council of the planet, but humans didn't realize
that they were not. Yeah. Yeah, like we're voted off the island kind of at the end of that story.
Everybody's pretty mad at you guys.
Yeah. It turns out we're going to save all the life on Earth that deserves it. And having spoken with everyone, that's not you.
We're going to relocate you guys. You're making a mess.
I heard some crazy stat that like 60% of the mammals on Earth now are humans or animals that humans grow for food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
I think that's actually quite a lot higher. I think it's like 90%.
See, that's bananas to me.
Yeah.
So it would be bananas, I think, to anyone who was objectively looking at like a sustainable ecosystem. They would come in and they'd immediately say, okay, well, humans are definitely not, that's not helping. Yeah. But rather than like eradicate them, which is the trope of so much science fiction, what would they give us that could change it? Like what would be a thing? You know, like if we, again, you go back to trope. The whole idea behind Star Trek is that once they invent the replicators, they don't need war and they don't need to compete because everyone has all the basic necessities of life. So then now humans pursue other goals which are more lofty, right? What is a thing that would get us to stop thinking in the quarterly report and start thinking in the macro?
Right, like where does this story go? So we've got a great premise. Let's assume that the cast of characters we can follow individual stories, and then perhaps they just sort of become aware of one another via communication channels or whatever. But like, where does this story go?
Yeah, like is the climax of the movie the reveal, like them being able to suss out what this?
Okay, so what if the 10 people that they take, in order to have them really understand their point of view, it's not something that can be told but only experienced. What if, as a consciousness that doesn't look at time the same way, what if what they do is they take these 10 people and they grant them immortality.
Oh boy.
And then every chapter of the story is like another 100 years or 1,000 years of these people reflecting on the changes on the planet and what they've...
Or during the conversation that it has with the intelligence, thousands of years are passing outside of wherever they're talking.
Ooh, I like that.
Like it brings in 10 random people because it doesn't really know or care that this guy's like the president and this guy's like a milkman.
Yeah.
It just grabs 10 people
Yeah.
to kind of explain, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Like we know it's going to be upsetting, but a couple hundred years have passed and here's what we're doing.
Yeah, and what if what that brings is like people who...
And then it's just a room,
Yeah,
right? It's just
regardless
them
of-
having a conversation in a room and 10 completely different people from 10 different walks of life.
So what if you said awareness was their quantifier? Like humans that they believed were very aware of their surroundings, of themselves, and their like that way there'd be no rank. It wouldn't be like, oh, you're important.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're a kid that is totally aware of your emotions and your relationship with your parents. That's an important perspective to have. You're a person who trains daily in mind, body, spirit, right? Some like guru martial artist. This is a really important one. You're a teacher that can manage the outcomes of,
I'm just a
150
grade 2
people.
teacher. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, what am I doing here, right? And what they all have in common is this idea to actually really understand their place
The human condition.
without needing to know their place in it. Like the ego is removed, right? Maybe what they have in common is that their ego is not driving the bus. Right? Because when you're talking about those ants, we come back to those ants, right? Their egos aren't driving the bus.
So at the end of the day, is this story sort of intended to highlight the value of the everyday person?
Yes. I don't know. That's what we're discovering. That's not what I intended.
I like
at
the idea of
beginning.
turning it into kind of like a bottle movie.
Yeah.
Like
you
it's-
love everything to be in a
I
tiny
do.
box. Yeah.
I do. So it's
Yeah.
them, 10 people, having this conversation with a super intelligence that's brought these people into its time frame so it can actually communicate. Whereas like the rest of the world, we don't meet any real characters in the world. We're seeing it through like a time lapse of all this stuff happening.
And the people believe that they're being shown what will happen,
But
not
it's in
realizing that it's
in
happening
real time.
in real time around
Yeah.
them. Right? Like they're discussing the rise and falls of civilization and their place as a macroorganism while we're literally watching.
Like the erosion of mountains and the building of whatever
Right.
else is happening.
And it feels like a weird, fluxing alien landscape, but it's actually the surface of the Earth in this macro time that the consciousness
we
thinks
can
it.
show the waves eating away at like
Yeah.
a hillside, just like you like the waves. So
Yeah.
The carbon units know why the Creator has not responded.
Disclose the information.
I need some explosions here,
need
guys.
some explosions?
I need some explosions. I need
Okay.
some drama.
I
I
will-
need
no,
some.
I
So
wanna
here's the
do-
drama. Here's the drama. Or here's some drama, potential drama. What if the consciousness itself isn't always in agreement? Right? And what if what it does is it picks up differing points of view and differing awarenesses so that it can have internal conflict? That it's so balanced that the only way it can have internal conflict is to download your distrust of it and then act upon that distrust, like give some voice to it.
Just to see how you deal with it.
Right.
like it's feeding off of these 10 people
Yeah.
to get kind of the human experience.
Right. And so the war, like maybe in this timeline, we can slow it down and watch these incredible conflicts. You could have your giant robots fighting, weird mutant monsters, and you don't realize that it's not an alien world they're showing you. It's a period of time on the planet where they've experimented with your concept and put this conflict together.
Like, so one of the characters puts forward an idea, and then we get to watch that idea being
Yeah,
employed.
what if they're like,
oh, that didn't work.
Because people always say it's it's human nature to want to destroy itself, right? And so then we see some alien vista where the alien creatures seem to be bent on their own destruction, but what it was that seed of an idea taken over 10,000 years of evolution and
Or
shown to them.
the Star Trek idea. Let's give them replicators and see if that wipes out war. No, it just made it way worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they don't realize they're sitting in judgment of the entire like biosphere of the Earth.
So ultimately, the conflict of this story will be human conflict.
Yeah. writ large across the planet without their knowledge. And I like the idea that at the end, what if at the end they're offered a choice to go back to the beginning and live out their normal human lifespan from the point of contact, or live out from the point where the thing leaves?
I kind of like the idea that they're stranded at the end in the far, far future. There's no way to go back.
Right.
It's just...
Because you're a jerk like that. Those poor people.
What movie was that? The pilot? The Navigator.
But wait. I love your idea suddenly. I hated it for a second, but then I fully embraced it.
It's like the cop-out happy ending, right? It's like we showed you all these horrible things, but now let's undo it all. It was all a dream.
Right. This is the implicit kind of framework you could set up. You know, there's all these notions of ancient civilizations that predated the ancient civilizations we know, and the ancient astronauts, which I alluded to before, like all this kind of stuff. What if those are just, every time this thing comes around and a few million years go by, it drops off the people that they had decide the last fate of the planet, and they reseed, right? They get to try it again, having been shown. Then it creates that loop of wisdom. It's like, well, you saw all your ideas and how they would have worked. Mm-hmm. Now you have objective opinion on whether or not it would work. Now go create a civilization.
Oh.
Right? Like, we took you from the last one, which wasn't working. We let you play out all your fantasies about how it could work. Having played them out over millions of years, now you can start again. And so much time has passed that the Earth is now in, like a regenerated biosphere, right? It's healed from the last misuse, and you can try it again. Huh. But is there a love interest? Right?
Of course, there has to be.
Where is the second act betrayal? And who has come with the wisdom they didn't know they possessed? This is the Hollywood producer speaking now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we always have those things.
You have
and what
to.
do we call this story?
Ant Farm.
Ant Farm.
Ant Farm.
Because, like, when we were talking about the characters giving their suggestions, whatever, I was thinking, like, if you could talk to your ants in your little ant farm,
right,
and you took 3 of them and you started asking for suggestions, what would you guys like?
Mm-hmm.
Probably what they think would be best is not going to turn out so well
for everybody.
Yeah.
And is there a time in history, coming back around it, where the whales got their way? Like, at a certain point, they got dropped off on a water world version
Make it
of Earth?
60% water.
Yeah. Right. What if it was 80% water? I think things would go a lot better for us.
We witnessed a birth. Possibly a next step in our evolution.
I wonder. Well, it's been a long time since I delivered a baby, and I hope we got this one off to a good start.
So if you opened it with your initial vision of, like, all these different animals being pulled away, the suggestion to the careful reader would be that maybe all of those people got their versions, or all of those creatures got their best version and a chance to have it at some point in this timeline. Right? If we divorce the notion of, like, time as a thing that has to happen in order, but that this consciousness that builds this thing is like a second chance machine.
I don't know. I feel like they played with an idea like that in The Matrix, in the idea where when the machines first created the simulation, they played around with the idea that they were going to give a utopia. The ideal world.
It was a disaster.
And it was a disaster.
Total crops were
because
lost.
Humans are wired for conflict.
You're a virus.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that all life as we know it is wired for that same conflict. We are constantly trying to improve and constantly trying to form the environment around us to our own needs.
Right.
And that's I think that's just a quality of life as we know it. So,
do you think that's a quality of intelligence? Do you think that that's a byproduct of intelligence?
As we know it. That's why I always add as we know it, because who knows what's out there, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like us.
That's the title, As We Know It.
As we know it. Yeah.
Right? Because that's the thrust of our story, is, like, from people's point of view, as they know it, they're exploring all the different possibilities.
We're going to create the drama.
Right.
It's almost as though the alien, visit is just a catalyst for that conflict.
It's like a cosmic reality show. They just like set up on Earth and let 10 people decide the fate of the Earth and then stream it right on their mobile devices to everybody.
Yeah,
in the universe.
what if the way that they chose who the ambassadors of Earth were going to be was just by the number of Twitter followers they had?
Oh no.
No.
People are listening to these people.
Yeah. They're the important ones in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to explore the themes of cause and effect, like, coming back to this idea of the people who have awareness, right, maybe are having more effect, like operating without ego are having a greater effect on the world that they don't know, as people who are doing it for the sake of being the boss, being the famous person, doing it fully for the ego.
There's totally got to be a character too who starts off as like super like uncomfortable and unsure and just like sniveling and gets a god complex by the end and becomes almost like a villain.
Likes watching it happen.
Yeah.
Starts interjecting bad things just to watch them happen.
Just to watch, yeah.
Right.
There's your conflict.
Starts to try to like manipulate the super intelligence to.
Right. Ooh. And what if the super intelligence is a bit of a shit disturber? Like, what if it is baiting people with this idea?
Do you think it's going to be just neutral, or does it have like a personality?
I think that if you gave curiosity unlimited power to the people it was curious about, it would seem malevolent, right? Malevolent.
Because it wants to know.
Yeah, it just wants to know. Right? Like, if I really wanted to know how you work, I could take you all apart, Ian. Right? And then put you back together. And one time I'll do it and see if letting you feel that.
Oh my God.
What that does. And one time I'll do it making you feel really good when it's happening.
Welcome to the dark imagination.
Right? But like unlimited curiosity with unlimited power could be terrifying. Right? And you could set that up a few different ways. Right? Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a great premise.
Yeah, we have a great premise. What did you call it? You had a great title also. What was the title?
Justin called it Ant Farm.
Ant Farm, or you said
As We Know It.
As We Know It.
Yeah, thinking more like 2001-esque science fiction rather than like Michael Bay explosions.
Yeah, agreed.
Until Hollywood gets its hands on it.
Yeah. We can have all the explosions at the beginning when the military
That's where all the trailers are going to come from?
Yes.
That's right, from all of the fight of humanity against the aliens, and then the last two acts are just like long pontifications on the nature
Hold
of
on to your seats, folks. Now here comes a bunch of philosophy.
Wait,
That's what the people want.
Love, Death, and Robots, there's that episode about the little civilization in the freezer.
That's right, yeah.
Are we doing something like that? Is that kind of along the same...
Ooh, kind of.
Have you seen that one yet?
Less misogyny in our version, I hope, but...
Not that episode.
No, but that whole collection is a little... It's good. It's very well done, but it's for a very specific audience, I feel. Well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we talked about how genre got made, and I brought on two unsuspecting guests to make up some genre. So hopefully we've stimulated some ideas for you, and you can go away and use them when you join the fight and make comics.